have to come up with some better practices for the building owners. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We're here to make sure that the occupants, the building, and the assets within the building are safe. And price on safety, there isn't a price for safety. Obviously, there can be constraints depending on like hospitals. They're operating off 1 to 2% profit margin typically. Yeah. A lot of them are nonprofit, but then you do have the bigger. You have warehouse distribution centers, you have data centers, all these these servers make millions of dollars a minute, right?
Oh, my goodness.
And so, I think we've got to, as an industry, the fire industry, we've got to look at more sustainable practices, as you were saying, because if we can elongate the life, extend the life of a fire sprinkler system, you look at that's dollars per day, it becomes cheaper. I mean, we were talking the other day about your phone, and you're like, I'm not paying $1,000 for a phone. I was like, well, if you've had it for 1,000 days, it's $1 a day. And you said, I don't want, that's too expensive still. It's still expensive. And so in the same thing, these fire sprinkler systems cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in some of these buildings. Yeah. The longer you keep it in service, it can get down to those cents per day or those dollars per day. And, by replacing these systems with an average life for dry systems 8 to 12 years, and then wet systems are experiencing significant corrosion from 15 to 25, but the life expectancy is 50, that's a fourth of the life, a half life. And so we have to figure out how to get a magnitude of 2, a magnitude of 4, doubling or tripling that life, quadrupling that life to help people, because where we're going today isn't going to be sustainable in 50 years.
No, it's not, and part of it is because, the HJs and fire marshals are doing a really good job, but the fact of the matter is, prior to us coming into the marketplace, you can't sustain and uphold code compliancy the way 5 years have been done in the past. It's not a profitable business model, so consequently, they don't get pushed, and the fire contractors, they're into making money. That's what they want to do. They want to make money.
Yeah.
That's how
every
it works,
business,
right?
Every business.
But if it's not a money-making discipline, they're going to put it on the back burner and go after the ones where they can make money, right? So I kind of understand it. It's not right, but I understand it. Yeah. But now that we have a way of keeping up with the market, compliancy on these buildings, I think these buildings do need to be compliant.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we talked about this. Average per state to keep compliance is about 45,000 systems inspected every single year. Now, obviously, like if you're in New York or LA, like that's probably going to be closer to 85, maybe 65,000. Where if you're in Wyoming, it might be 10,000, depending on where you're at, or 20,000 a year. And so, we've got to look at more. Now that there's technology to do this, I think there's no excuse to not do it. Part of that falls on our shoulders, and either going product or getting growing, all that. Sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's no excuse not to do 5 years, even doing it traditionally right now, because it's a minimal requirement.
It is.
And we were on that project, and the guy was like, we did the 5 years, and he's like, great.
Great.
You did a 5 year. Wonderful. And the sarcasm that came out of it is like the demeanor of like, it's just a 5 year. It provides you minimally nothing. It just checks a box. And so, that's where the life cycle asset management and these obstruction investigations that we're talking about, really the obstruction investigations, which is, the capital budgeting roadmap to extending the life of fire treatment is the most important thing I think that's out there, especially when you look at these buildings that are anywhere from hitting that age of, for dry systems, 8 to 12 years. Mm-hmm. We can do a little bit before for wet systems, and we can start hitting it around that 20-year mark. If we can find the problems before they're problems, find the root cause of these problems. So one of the things is that we've been trying to focus on is root cause analysis, which is, when we analyze the system, what is the root cause of the failure? Why is it failing? Is it design? Is it water? Is it function? Is it the pipe? Like, how do we identify that so then we can, when we solve the issues and then the surrounding symptoms, it can extend the life? And that's something, I mean, a lot of people who have talked to us in the fire industry have said, you know, you guys are like a nurse technician. You're gonna do the MRIs, you're gonna do the blood checks, you're gonna make sure we're good, and then if it's really bad, then it needs to go to the doctor to get fixed, and that's going to be your fire contractors who are going to go surgically start replacing the stuff once they know the data to do that. And I think that's probably the best analogy I've had of Sonic coming in for this asset management of, in the essence, the system or our body in that analogy.